Hello, hello, hello. It's Stevie Aisha Mills, and we are back for another conversation with Stevie. Yes, we love this show. I love doing it. Why? Because we always hear about the why behind the what of what people do. It is the most important thing so that you can understand what they do. And so today I have the divine opportunity to introduce a woman who I think is absolutely incredible. I think she's absolutely innovative, and you will see why I believe that, and I know you will too. So SHERRELL Moore-Tucker is a best-selling author, a speaker, a natural health consultant, and the creator of Faith and Flow Yoga. She is passionate about educating people about mind-body principles that are applicable for everyday living. She educates various communities and businesses about mind-body wellness using various forms of yoga and meditation techniques for stress management, social and health-related trauma, and self-care. That is awesome. We love self-care. I am here for the self-care because, honey, we don't do that enough. So without any further ado, SHERRELL, welcome to the conversation with Stevie.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. And I know that our paths crossed some months ago, and today is the first time that we've had the opportunity to really, really connect. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about I'm excited about the work that you do because, not to my knowledge, a whole lot of people of color, who are African-American women, beautiful women with beautiful spirits, do exactly what you do. And if they do, they don't do it to the, professionalism that you do. Because I see you all over the internet streets. I see you in your amazing group doing what you do best. And I want to know, the first question that I really want to delve into is, how did you get this yoga thing started? Where did it come from?
I think that yoga is a byproduct of my movement history. So I've always been someone that moved, whether it was taking dance classes and cheerleading, running track. I've always been drawn to movement and the arts. But it wasn't until a few years ago when I was in the military and diagnosed with arthritis that I began to discover the healing benefits of yoga. And so I actually owe my doctor a thumbs up on introducing me to yoga. He thought that with my movement background that this may be something that would help to alleviate the pain, help me to, just learn more about learning how to move in a different way, and kudos to the doctor for that, because I never really been exposed to yoga before. It wasn't available in my community, and when I was in the military, I actually got a chance to take some free classes on base, and that was my first time trying a yoga class. And that was probably back that was a while ago. That was probably back in the early 2000s. So fast forward to maybe around 2007, 2008, I had gotten out of the military, and by this time I had moved to the D.C. area and was really still dealing with a lot of pain, decided to find a home yoga studio to practice in, hoping that I could kind of find some other people that could continue to share with me about the healing benefits of yoga so I could learn more about it. And that really sparked this whole wellness journey once I moved to the D.C. area to be able to continue that journey and then eventually share it with other people.
Wow. I think that's amazing. I don't want to gloss over what you said about the fact that you were, your doctor, which we know we don't go to the doctor for the most part unless something is going on with our bodies.
Right.
And I think that is amazing that even came from that, because you did not utilize, whatever was happening inside of your body to, you didn't just stick a pin in it, right? You didn't stick a pin in it. And I love when people have the foresight and the wisdom and, listen to, for me, the higher being of God, but listen to God and utilize whatever's happened. And for me, it's definitely, I can relate because part of my story is that I was on corporate America and I got super stressed. I had to have 3 colonoscopies within 30 days, 2 within 24 hours. I went from a size 14 to a size 0, and I had shingles. And that is how I started this whole journey that I'm on. So I could super relate to what you're saying, and I think that's awesome. And the next question I really want you to answer in the same vein is, how did you build this mindset to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Because a lot of times in life, people don't have that lemons into lemonade mentality. They just take their lemons and suck on them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, where did this can do it? Go ahead.
I think that it just kind of came from my upbringing. So I've always been someone that loved and enjoyed moving. And so with the military background, which I was in the Army, definitely had that can-do attitude, lots of confidence, was able to face a lot of my fears in the military. And so with that mindset, I kind of used that same mindset towards my health as well. Now, this is the thing. In the beginning, I was totally caught off guard. I felt like I'd been pretty healthy most of my life and didn't really understand why arthritis was attacking my body. I was in my early 20s and really dealt with anger, dealt with periods of depression, but eventually I came to a point where I said, enough is enough. I have a whole lot of years left, and I'm going to live it to the best of my ability, and I'm going to find some tools that can help me live it in a different way. And so I definitely hats off to my mom bringing me up in a way where I didn't shy away from challenges or problems, and also for the military cultivating that confidence within myself to be able to face my fears.
Wow. And that's the thing. A lot of times we don't find the permission slips to our ideal lives because we can't find the courage and confidence. So the fact that you just said something about fear, that's awesome because that's another mental breakthrough that people do not get past, right? It's very hard for us sometimes to face our fears. So what have some of your fears been along this amazing yoga journey?
Wow, so many. I can tell you one that still comes up periodically is, why didn't I start this when I was younger? Right now I'm 42 years old, and I feel like I'm just hitting my stride with this wellness journey. And sometimes I encounter people that are a lot younger than I am, and so that can bring about fear. Fear can be based in insecurity, self-esteem, and so those are things that I still face from time to time. I also dealt with just depression, dealing with sometimes being the only person of color in a yoga class or a workshop or a seminar, and just trying to find my footing in sometimes a community where you don't see a lot of yourself reflected. That can be kind of scary. And also teaching to communities sometimes that don't look like you. So you want to be able for people that really understand where you're coming from to see and feel your heart. And sometimes if you're not if you allow fear to come in, it will definitely come in and cripple your ability to teach and share sometimes when you're in unfamiliar territory. And so those are just some of the things that have come up for me in my wellness journey, particularly with yoga, because it's kind of still catching on with some communities.
That's awesome, and I would not have guessed that you were a day over 22. Listen, y'all have to get into her community and look at her and just do the yoga too. I'm gonna get to the do the yoga too part in my journey. I'm gonna stop looking and start doing. But you've got to understand that that's an amazing thing. And so since we mentioned the community, definitely tell us about that.
So how yoga is being introduced in the community? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, no, your community on Facebook.
Oh, okay. So I'm the creator of Faith and Flow Yoga, and, Faith and Flow Yoga and this community is really about using faith, using your affirmations, faith in yourself, faith in community, faith in God, to really use that as the basis for your yoga practice. And I've been so blessed to encounter and meet so many people where Faith and Flow Yoga has been so beneficial to their lives, where maybe people may not have a local yoga studio in their area. They can find me online, and I provide online content and great just wellness and health information to help those that are really interested in the practice but kind of feel a little leery about it. So a lot of people in my community are beginners, believe it or not, and I believe that that's just something that God has placed in me, that I'm able to share the practice in a nurturing way that will make even the most novice person feel right at home on the mat. I also have a wonderful community that I just started a few weeks ago called Sisters Who Meditate. This is a virtual online community of women of faith that want to learn how to cultivate Christian meditative practice, ultimately having a meditative lifestyle. And so I'm so honored and blessed to be the conduit for these things that God is birthing through my life here on this earth.
Awesome. And I have the pleasure of having some biographical information in front of me, and I am like, okay, let's talk about these specialties, because some of them I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I'm like, what is it? So you are very just the bomb in a lot of different yoga types and specialties, and I would love to just know more about them and what they mean.
Okay, absolutely. So I think, I don't have my bio in front of me, but I am trained in Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is great for beginners. It's a Sanskrit word for sun and moon. And so many people that are not used to a weight-bearing practice may be moving on the mat. Hatha Yoga is a slow pace of the yoga asanas and postures. There's a lot of verbal cueing as to alignment to help your body get used to some of the poses. And it's a great class. A Hatha Yoga class is great to just learn some of the basic yoga postures. Vinyasa flow. Now, that's the more popular one that you may find in gyms. Some people call it power yoga. That's where you see a lot of flow. So Vinyasa flow is basically you move with the synchronization of your breath. And it looks like you're dancing on the mat. That's really what it just looks like if you don't know what you're looking at. And I love Vinyasa flow. Vinyasa flow is great for people that are already active and have a certain level of body awareness that they can bring to the mat to help them to build physical endurance, but also mental and spiritual endurance and growth. Now, I can tell you one thing in just teaching various types of classes, because I teach Hatha Yoga and Vinyasa flow. People that have issues with vertigo and balance are probably not going to like Vinyasa flow. Vinyasa flow is a lot of up and down on the mat, back and forward, up and down. So if you are new to yoga, I wouldn't recommend Vinyasa flow right off the bat. I would suggest Hatha. The next type of yoga that I have been trained in is called Yin Yoga, Y-I-N. And this is a beautiful type of passive stretch where you hold the yoga postures, usually seated on the mat. There's no standing postures. You hold them for time, between 3 to 5 minutes. And this is a way for you to get down deep below the muscles to the connective tissue and the fascia to stress those areas, which can increase your flexibility. But the main point of Yin Yoga is really to learn how to calm and relax the mind and the body. So it's a beautiful practice for those that have issues with being still and learning how to be still. The practice of Yin is a beautiful practice that welcomes people that are active as well as beginners. So it's great for both. And then most recently, I'll be completing training in yoga for trauma-sensitive communities. And this is something that was birthed out of what I saw in a lot of my yoga classes, where I saw a lot of trauma in my community, whether it was me dimming the lights and that being a trigger for someone, whether it was me spraying a room spray and that being a trigger. And what I mean by trauma is not your trauma that you hear about maybe in the news like PTSD, but we're talking about just everyday trauma related to race relations, trauma related to your family, maybe losing a child or a loved one, maybe the trauma of moving from place to place, the trauma of feeling disconnected from your family. And so I really wanted to get a little bit more training in this area because I really saw a lot of trauma in the community. And I believe that the practice of yoga can really help people to reconnect with their bodies and their minds in a more healthy way. And so those are just some of the areas that I tend to teach in my classes and provide through workshops as well.
Awesome. And so I see here also about holy yoga and Christian.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that one. Holy yoga. So holy yoga is a beautiful Christ-centered yoga practice that keeps God right at the center of that practice, and that's what allowed me to birth Faith and Flow Yoga. I received Holy Yoga teacher training after I completed some traditional yoga teacher training because I wanted to just learn more about being able to weave the scripture, the Word of God into the practice, allowing the practice to be more than physical, but be more of a worship experience. And so that's what you will get with Christ-centered yoga or holy yoga. You'll get an opportunity to worship God, body, soul, and spirit. We know that in the Bible it says, in Him I live, move, and have my being. I believe that's a perfect scripture befitting for holy yoga. Many times we go to church and we raise our hands and we praise and we go home, but it doesn't have to end there. You can continue the praise party, the worship portion, really at home, right on your mat, by moving and worshiping God and just connecting with God in a different way, not through words, but through the heart, spirit, and spirit. So that's the beauty of holy yoga.
Awesome. And so I know that you also are connected to Pilates. What is the major difference between yoga and Pilates?
Yeah, I will. You'll see every now and again I'll add in some components of mat Pilates. And so many people think that yoga and Pilates are the same, and they're definitely not the same. Yoga is a mind-body modality, and Pilates is as well, but the focus of Pilates is really to work on that powerhouse, the core. So you have lots and lots of core exercises with Pilates. You have Pilates that you do on the mat. You may have heard of the 100s, where that's an intense core exercise. You're definitely staying connected to your breath in Pilates, but it's not necessarily a modality that has a spiritual component. You can include a spiritual component, but it doesn't necessarily have a spiritual component to it. And so with yoga, it's a mind, body, spirit modality. Of course, you can treat it just like any other exercise, but there's so much more to yoga. There's philosophy, there's a healing portion of yoga because there's so many different types. And of course, with Pilates, most of the exercises are either done on the mat or they're done on the reformer machine, if you've ever been on the machine. So with yoga, you have various standing postures, balancing postures, inversions, really lots and lots of postures that deal with the total body, the mind, and the spirit. There's certain breathing techniques connected to yoga, and there's also a component of yoga that deals with the spirit that you can either include in your practice or not. Those are just some of the key components of Pilates that people may not be aware of.
Awesome. Because I think I've taken both yoga and Pilates a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken both, so I do appreciate it, and I am definitely one of those people. It's hard for me to get centered because my mind is always going,
Right.
So yoga has always, I appreciate just being able to center and quiet my spirit and my mind, because
absolutely.
I often have, it's like rush, do this, do that. And I think I appreciate greatly, the fact that we have people like you in this world who help us do that. And
absolutely.
Do you ever get any pushback from, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we all deal with that. I mean, even as an instructor, we all are trying to just figure it out and how to balance everything. And that's why I think that anybody and everybody can benefit from yoga. All you have to do is come to the mat with the willingness to be open and using your breath to get there. And so I think that there's definitely some benefits to yoga that everyone, including teachers, professionals, the mom, the dad, the kids, everyone can benefit from yoga. And there's definitely a teacher that's the right teacher for you and the right class.
Awesome. Do you ever get any pushback from people who don't understand? Like, I know that I've heard before, Christians don't necessarily vibe with yoga. Have you ever gotten any pushback? Okay.
Yes.
And I would love for you to kind of talk about that, just so we can educate people.
Absolutely. In the beginning, I used to get a lot. It seemed like on a regular basis. It's kind of tapered down a little bit now as as people become more and more familiar with my practice. But I still get some every now and again. And so I think that it really just comes from a lack of education and fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of something being brought over from another part of the world that seems to have connotations or components of it that don't fit with your faith-based mindset or what your belief system is. And so I definitely have I don't have an adversarial view on people that say I don't like yoga or I don't, think that Christians should do it. I think that God has given us free will, and I believe that there's an opportunity for everyone to experience the fullness of God in different types of modalities. And so with yoga, many Christians believe that it is based in the Hindu Buddhist faith, and that these people in these religions worship certain deities and certain gods. And so there is a belief system with people that you cannot take the postures out of that religious system and make them into something else. But contrary to what a lot of Christians and other people believe, that's exactly what we did, and we have a history of doing that. We have a history of taking great things from other cultures and westernizing them, okay, and making them into whatever we desire, whatever intention we place on it. And so back in the 60s is really when was brought to the West and really became popular and commercialized. You saw a lot of musicians practicing yoga. I don't know if you remember, but probably like back in the 90s, it became very popular with Madonna and Sting. And so everybody started at least hearing what the word yoga meant. But it's always been connected still to the roots in the East, that if you practice it, maybe you're a Buddhist, maybe you practice Hinduism or some type of pagan religion. And I believe that God has given us free will, and He is the creator of all. And so my stance on it is there's some people that believe that yoga started in the East, and there's some people that believe and have evidence to support that yoga actually started in Africa. So there is a certain there's a type of yoga practice that people believe it was formed in Africa. And so I don't really get into where it started from. All I care about is who originated it, who created it. And I believe that God created all things and that He gives us free will to put our intention and our purpose on it. And from that, you get so many different types of arts, so many different types of modalities that can be used to honor God. And I don't believe that yoga is any different. I believe that if you decide to use movement for dance, for the healing arts, for yoga, it can all be dedicated to God. And so for those that have a theological block where you say no, this group owns it, this is what they put there, this was their intent, and I cannot change that intent, then I leave people where they are and where they're comfortable. And so that's kind of my stance on that. And, yes, there are lots of people that definitely feel that way. One group uses it, we can't use it, it's of the devil, it's not of God, and I say, okay. I totally understand. I don't try to argue with people, but for the people that are open, that know that there is a beauty behind breathing, there is a beauty in meditation, and there is a beauty in using the body to worship God, to remove trauma, to allow the body to release deeply held emotions and hurt and pain, and that it can be very akin to physical therapy and it can be therapeutic, then yoga is for that person that is able to see that in themselves. They're able to accept that, because I believe that it's not about forcing yoga on Christians or other people, because everybody has their belief system. So if your belief system is so rigid and tight that yoga cannot fit into that mindset, then I believe that it's not supposed to fit in. You're not ready for that. I've happily recommended Pilates to people. I've recommended calisthenics to other people that say, hey, Sherrell, I want to move, but I'm just not good with the yoga thing, because I'm not really necessarily a diehard proponent of yoga. I am for people that want to get free through movement and want to use their body and the things that God has given them to get that freedom. And if it's not through yoga, then so be it.
Well, amen. Drop the mic and keep it moving. I love that. That was really, really good, and I appreciate you sharing your view on that. We are coming towards the end of our time, but I definitely want to talk to you about Transparent Faith. It is your best-selling book, and I would love to just know, like, what is it about? Who is it for? Just tell us some of it.
Yeah, Transparent Faith is a book that I wrote last year out of my journey back to Christ. And so this is a great book and an awesome tidbit, various parts of my life and small stories that really speak to the person that says, hey, you know, I've been out here, I've been living life on my own, doing things my way, and I want to learn more about God. This is not a book that's for someone that's looking for a certain religion or anything like that, but it's more so about relationship. And so the beautiful name Transparent Faith was definitely given to me by the Holy Spirit. And what I discovered was when I was in a backslid state and I rededicated my life back to Christ, I really wanted to do things differently. I grew up in a church as a young girl, and I had this blockage of perfection that loomed over my life. And so many times when I was trying to be this good Christian person, I fell short every single time. And so as I began to grow and was preparing to go off to college, I said, you know, I just can't do it. Like, it seems like in order to be a Christian, you have to be almost perfect. And I felt like I failed in that area. And so when I went off to college, I decided to just kind of leave church behind. I left my relationship with Christ behind, and I did things on my own. And during that time, a lot of things happened, and ultimately, I came back to Christ. But I wanted to have a different mindset. I was like, look, God, I'm not perfect. So how can I really live this Christian lifestyle? I'm young. I want to have fun. And so God really, the looming word that came about was just be transparent. Just start your relationship with me being transparent. And if you see the cover of my book, there is a beautiful cross on the front that symbolizes first being transparent with my relationship in a vertical sense, my relationship with the Father, being open and honest about where I am, that I'm connected to. And so this is a great book for maybe a first-time believer, a new convert, someone that realizes there's something to this relationship with God, but I just don't really know where to start. Like I haven't maybe read the Bible in a while. I'm not really sure. This is a great book. It's a short read, and it gives you some great nuggets of wisdom as you cultivate your relationship with God outside of church and different traditions, but more so, how do I get to know this person that I'm in a relationship with? How do I get to know this person that I'm serving? And that's really what Transparent Faith is all about.
Perfect. I love it. And I just want to really ask you, I always ask my guests this, and that is, Stevie, before we leave this conversation, we have got to talk about blank, blank, blank. How would you fill in the blank? Is there anything that you need to say before you leave, or do you think we covered it all?
No, there is one more thing. So I touched on it very briefly, but I've been, Faith and Flow Yoga is great, especially for those people that are open to the modality and the possibility of moving in the body and how it can be a tool for God's healing. But I'm very, very passionate about this meditative journey that I'm on, which came to manifestation with Sisters Who Meditate. And so I just want to spend a few moments just talking about Sisters Who Meditate. This is the virtual Facebook group that I've just created, and this is totally separate from yoga. So what I found in various churches and faith-based communities, there are people that say, Sherrell, I love what you're doing. I'm not really sure about the yoga yet. Give me some time, but I love this Christian meditation component. Like, tell me more about that. Help me with this negative mindset. How do I deal with anxiety and stress? And so this is like perfect for those people that say, hey, I just want to start slow with learning how meditation, which is very much associated with New Age sometimes and Eastern religions, I want to put the word out there that this is God-ordained. Christian meditation is in the Bible. This is something that we should be practicing. It's simply subconscious prayer. And I'm so proud and excited to share Sisters Who Meditate with other women of color that maybe don't talk about Christian meditation in their traditional settings. This is a group of women that have come together that are looking to explore meditative practices, learn how to deepen their relationship with God using their mind and their breath. And I'm just so excited about the group. It's free to join. There's no membership or anything, but we're just coming together and just sharing our experiences about meditation, what it is, what it isn't, and really how simple it is and how it really allows us to deepen our relationship with God beyond the physical level, beyond the soulish level, beyond the emotional level, really getting down to the heart of a person, which is a spirit.
That's awesome. Yes, and I am in that community. I love it. I do. And so before we leave, I want to say thank you to you. And I also want to give you the opportunity to share your contact information so that people can stay connected to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stevie. So people can connect with me first by going to my website, which is SHERRELL-MOORE-TUCKER.com. And from there, you'll find a couple of social media platforms that I'm on. So you can also find me on Facebook at SHERRELL-MOORE-TUCKER.com. And I'm also available on Instagram and Twitter. And so definitely reach out if you're interested in bringing Faith and Flow Yoga or Sisters Who Meditate to your local area, your church group, an event. Definitely reach out so we can customize a program just for you that will benefit the ladies in a divine way.
Awesome. And we will have in our show notes with Sherrell's bio, we'll have her spelling of her name so that you all can click on the right thing, because I know my name is not easy to spell sometimes, and I know how that is. So definitely. Well, thank you again for being here with the conversation with Stevie. We appreciate you, and we definitely will be connecting further with you.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You're welcome. And so, again, everybody, this is Stevie Aisha Mills. It has been the conversation with Stevie, and you could connect with me just by spelling my first name, Stevii, again, Stevii. And you can find me on social media. You can find me at stevie.com. And you can find me right here. Each and every conversation, I'll be here for the conversation with Stevie. Guys, make it a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.